Looks like we are, we're recording here. What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to another Serious Angler podcast, episode number 124. We are joined by Mr. Kevin Baxter. I have him here queued up and ready to go for today. But before I do, I got a few announcements for you guys. First thing, I'm not able to completely tell you guys yet, but I have sold the radar. The kayak has left the driveway. It's gone. But we have something in the works, something that is really awesome. We have a new partner on the way, and I'm really excited to get that working. And that's as much as I can tell you guys right now. But hopefully soon we can get more things in the works and get that news released to you guys. It's going to be pretty exciting. And hopefully you guys can take advantage of it as well. So looking forward to that. Also, huge shout out to Douglas Outdoors, Amped Outdoors, and Queen Tackle. Thank you guys for your constant support of the Serious Angler podcast. Obviously, Douglas rods have been running for months now, since almost the beginning of the show. Queen Tackle, man, I mean, I'm going to be putting into the test this weekend, and I'm going to leave it at that, and we'll talk more once the tournament is over this weekend. We'll talk more about how I use Queen. But huge shout out to Amped Outdoors as well. We have some more stuff in the works coming for 2021. And Amped is going to be playing a big factor in that. So huge shout out to them for their support. Go check out their link down below if you're looking to get into a lithium battery. So check that out if you could. But again, today we have on Mr. Kevin Baxter. If any of you are tackle junkies like myself, and you have some room in the wallet, or maybe you're like me and you don't have room, but he still somehow influences you to spend more money on Tackle Warehouse. But without further ado, Mr. Kevin Baxter. What's going on, man?
Hey, Bailey. How are you, man?
Doing all right, dude. I appreciate you taking the time out of your day. I know you've already had a hectic morning, so I appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. But I never passed down an opportunity to talk some fishing tackle.
Heck yeah. Looking through tackle, talking about tackle, it's probably the next best thing to actually getting out on the water and putting that tackle to use.
Yeah, and with been married with 2 kids and working midnights full time, 50 hours a week, I'm not fishing with it as much as I'm talking about it. But I still have this problem. I see something I like, I usually have to get it.
It is getting added to the shopping cart.
Yeah, I mean, I live on Kentucky Lake, and we're blessed to have a lot of really nice stores here. But it's so easy to get on Tackle Warehouse or Hook Up Tackle or any of those places, and I've kind of gotten this JDM thing and buying balsa crankbaits. I've got a little addiction there. It's just so easy to see something catch your eye and click a button. It's your house in a day or two. It's actually made it really hard to get in my bait room because I had to move a whole rolling thing of balsa baits out just so I could get the door open. But it is what it is.
Have you ever, and this might be a stupid question, but have you ever spoken to Eric Galasso?
Eric Galasso, yes. He is one of my great friends that I actually met through social media, Instagram. When I kind of very first started doing YouTube videos and stuff, he left a comment and said, "Can't wait to see what this guy brings. I remember his name from editing the TV show Classic Patterns. It's going to be lit." And we exchanged some private messages, and I told him, "Hey man, I don't have the equipment I used to and all that. I'm just doing this." He said, "Dude, just talk about the baits, man." And we've done some streams together, and he is super knowledgeable. I've learned a lot from Eric, and I text him, call him when I can, and we bounce ideas off each other, whether it's YouTube ideas or bait ideas, and we just talk normal life and stuff. He's a great, great guy, and I am really jealous of the George Clooney hair he's got going.
I think Smallmouth Crush put a picture last night. It was like I think it was like a housing ad that kind of looked like Eric, and said, "By the way, we're having Eric on the stream for talking about some new role or something." Kind of like joking around with Eric. It's just this older guy with the white, crazy nice hair.
Yeah.
And I had Eric on the show early on. We talked baits, and it looks kind of similar to what I'm looking at now. You have yours much more organized than his shop, because he had stuff all over the freaking place. Like, it looked like a wallpaper of baits.
If I could turn my webcam around, you'd see like 60-70% of my soft plastics. They're all on hangers and stuff. And this this camera is not wide enough to really capture everything. And to be honest, I'm glad it's not, because you would say, dude, for someone who loves baits, you're very unorganized. Like, this part right here is nice, but you get out to the wings, it's pretty bad. But Eric's got actually quite a bit more than me, especially when it comes to buzz baits, top waters, and those shallow diving square bills, the JDM balsa stuff. But I've upped my game, man. I've been able to find a few he hasn't. And I like to tease him every now and then when I get something in, like, yo, look what I found. And it's a fun game we play. But Eric, he fishes them all the time. And I do too. I at least test everything out in my pool. I got a pond, a city pond over here by my house that I'm convinced there's not a bass in. And I like to play and tinker, and then I go take it to the lake when I can. So
that's sweet. So would you rather shop at a tackle warehouse or Eric Galasso's bait shop?
Well, Eric probably isn't going to sell me a whole lot. So tackle warehouse.
Unbeknownst,
for availability, tackle warehouse, to come in there and get that ooh factor, I would like to go to Eric's place. And I'm planning on, me and him, we're going to make some videos probably next year. I'm going to try to do a little traveling, make some stops at some tackle stores and hunt for some baits, some rare stuff, and see what we can go from there, as long as my wife don't kill me.
Yeah, this is the important part. Well, dude, before we get too deep in the podcast here, I'm really curious in hearing, how you got into fishing. I know I told you I was going to ask you that here offline, but
yeah,
what's your first time, going bass fishing, getting out in the water, catching your first bass? Who introduced you to it? What was that whole story like?
Well, it's really simple. My dad took me fishing when I was very little. I don't remember a lot, but through photos, I know he took me crappie fishing when I was 2-3 years old, and I went with him deer hunting, fishing. But I really remember when I was about 6 years old. I went with him. He had an old Ranger. It was brown and burgundy. It was ugly. It had the tall Black Max Mercury on it, or the skinny and black. And I just learned a bait caster. I was like 6 years old, and I started throwing a popper. And I had changed baits like 15 times in like 45 minutes. And my dad was like, all right, this is your last one. And I remember making a really good cast, like under a tree. It just had a little opening. I made the perfect cast. And my dad said, now that was the cast. And I twitched that popper, and one about 4 pounds just come up. And my dad freaked out more than me. Oh, set the hook, set the hook, set the hook. And I was already reeling, and I had him on, and I got it to the boat. And the best part about it is, my dad took a couple pictures and whatnot, and I just dropped him over the side of the boat and let it go. And that was such a great feeling. My dad was very proud of me. He said, I'm proud of you for letting that fish go and everything. Because most kids that age, they want to keep a big fish or mount it or whatnot. And I let it go. And then like 2 months later, I caught 1.86 when I was 6 years old. And that was my PB for a long time. Caught it on a red rattle trap in like the middle of April, or no, it was May. Like, why would you? Now I'm like, I would never throw a red rattle trap in May, but it worked. And I have a lot of really good memories with my dad. And he's older now. He's 70, he'd be 71, just turned 71. And he can't fish like he used to. So I'm really glad that he took me fishing. He never forced me. I think he just took me so I could get out of my mom's hair, and I turned to like it so much. And right after high school, or in high school, I worked at a pretty famous tackle shop here on Kentucky Lake, and tried to do the college thing, but I was focused on other things, mainly fishing. And I ended up meeting Mr. Mike Otten. If you don't know Mike, he used to produce television shows for the Outdoor Channel, most famous for Classic Patterns. It had a lot of really big name pros on it. And met him at the Bassmaster Classic. We got to talking. He said he had an office in Benton where I live, and stopped by. I stopped by, offered me a job, and I worked there for like 6 years. So I started logging video for these TV shows. It was shot on tape back then. We didn't have SD cards and all this crazy good technology. Like, you shot on a tape, and so I had to set in and out points and log it off the tape. And it would take like hours. And then they showed me how to edit, and the rest is history. But it was an awesome experience, and that's kind of where the bait thing started, because I got to hang out with Van Damme. I worked on a DVD with Mike Iaconelli. I became great friends with Kelly Jordan. I worked with Skeet Reese and Gerald Swindle, pretty much that old school Lucky Craft bunch. And then Pradco started sponsoring the show, so I got to know Edwin Evers really well and several of those Pradco guys. And I'd always pick up a few baits. They'd always give me a few things and whatnot. And I fished tournaments myself, and it's just kind of how it started. It really started just buying a bunch of Rapala DT16s, because that was the crankbait for a long time, and I had piles of them. I still got some left. And then I watched a fishing tournament. And this is a very famous one. It was out at Clear Lake. Mr. Steve Kennedy won it.
Yep.
And once I started learning about the swim bait, and then I filmed a show with Kelly Jordan, crushing them on a storm walleye shad on Lake Fork. That really got the things turning, man. I started kind of picking up a few little swim baits here and bass tricks before they were cool.
Yep.
And then because Kentucky Lake was in its prime from like 06 to, I'll say, 2017, 2016. It seems like it was a lot longer than that. But, dude, it was a great time to play with baits, man. Anything big, anything swim bait, the Magnum spoon, and then this JDM stuff. And really, I'd say in the last 10 years, I've gotten really silly about it. And I've probably fished less. But it started at a really early age, man. I got just hanging out with my dad. He was always wanting to tinker, wanting to paint this, dye this, or try this, try that. He definitely bought some made-for-television baits, but that happens.
Yeah, there's definitely some baits out there that are made for the eye of the angler, not the eye of the fish. I think that's for certain.
But I think that's I hate to say it, that it's a very common story, but I'm glad that's what happened. It was as simple as my dad taking me fishing, and then I just found a niche I liked. And working in several sporting goods stores, from starting out as a clerk to a manager in internet sales, I always wanted to have an advantage over a competitor. So my deal was I would just learn way more about the baits, and I would try to pick up on stuff months ahead of time that were, like jackhammers. I knew about the jackhammer coming to the U.S. before a lot of people, and I had pre-ordered a ton of them. And I remember posting the photo on Instagram, and Z-Man messaging me like, "Yeah, you can't do that." And I said, "My bad, but I've already sold out." And it was like 300 of them. Like, I had Elite Pros like messaging me, "Yo, Baitman, how the heck did you get those? Here's my address and here's my card number. All right, I'll send them to you." So
that's pretty sweet. That's gonna be kind of cool. Just kind of understanding that this is gonna be what's gonna be current, in a certain frame coming up. It's also got to be kind of difficult, depending on the personality of not showing people like, "Hey, this is gonna be the deal," but just keeping it to yourself, that sort of thing.
And that's kind of one reason I don't fish as many tournaments as I used to. Number one, I sold my boat, when I had kids and whatnot, but it was a really thin line. I want to help everybody out, and I want everybody to catch fish. But there are times when me and the guy I fish with, we figure a little something out. I don't want to, spill the beans, but I don't want to just tell someone, "Oh, they're biting a worm," when I catch them on a crankbait. I'll just tell them, catch them on a crankbait, but I may not tell them the super secret juice about it, But a lot of the tackle sales and stuff is really predicting patterns, and you got your springtime baits are always going to sell, your summer, your fall, and winter. And you get a lot of downtime in the winter, and that's when I do a lot of research. And I don't know if there's an industry I'd really wanted to be in this year because of the COVID-19 and stuff. It made it really challenging for a lot of people. But from what I've been told, it's been a banner year across the board for at least the tackle aspect.
Yeah. I mean, you go on Tackle Warehouse, probably. I mean, it's a lot better now. But 2 months back, there was absolutely nothing. You couldn't find much of anything on really any online store, and even some of the storefronts too. You know, you walk in and it's been ransacked. It's a ghost town.
I think some people gave like Tackle Warehouse and other retailers a lot of unwarranted crap.
Yeah.
And think, listen, man, they're in the grand scheme of things, they're a big business, but they're not a Walmart.
No.
And they do some big time sales, but their specialty is fishing tackle, and there's only a limited amount of products, whether it's soft plastics or terminal tackle or whatever, made in the United States. Especially hard baits. It's really hard to find a hard bait company that's made in the U.S. nowadays. And these guys were having problems getting their stuff from overseas. Stuff was hung up at customs, all in. They Tackle Warehouse and these retailers are ordering it as fast as they can. It's just not coming in. Yeah. And they're short staffed to begin with. So it was just a bad, big snowball that happened. But now, you log on TW and they've got a lot of stuff coming in.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's cool to see all the different new products coming in too from the whole iCast thing.
Yeah.
And you heard some chatter too saying how the iCast wasn't very great. And you got to put that in the same perspective as what you just mentioned.
Absolutely.
These I'm sure these companies had amazing ideas for this iCast, but they couldn't get the supplies in to make that release. So I'm sure, and you can attest to this way better than I could, that 2021, and my personal theory is 2021 iCast is going to be an absolute mayhem.
Yeah, I think it's going to be really good. There is one thing about the virtual iCast. Everybody in the public could attend it. I mean, everything was out there on the web, and I've been thinking a great outlet for iCast would be a virtual tour of everything for the people that aren't dealers or buyers or wholesalers, because that's really what it's for in media. But people want to go and just to look at the baits, just like me. I mean, I was going as a buyer, but I did my buying the last day. I want to go look at all the cool stuff.
Yeah.
And see what's yay or what's nay. And I think that part was really good. But again, there's a lot of companies, their eggs are in their basket for iCast every year, and they weren't able to do a whole lot. But there were some companies that did a great job. They were way ahead of the curve. They see what was coming, and they had presentations and online stuff, videos and propaganda, and it worked really well. But there's a few companies that, man, it wasn't as great as usual, but you just got to look at the perspective of how it all went down.
No doubt. Yeah. Without a doubt. Well, dude, I'm talking about baits with you. Obviously, I know, and I think I know the answer to this question, but I'm curious your favorite, I guess I'd say, genre of baits that you collect. And I'm going to assume that it's swim baits. Am I wrong?
Man, I would actually say it's if it's not number one, it's number two. I don't really have the biggest selection of swim baits. I actually enjoy hollow bellies and soft plastic swim baits probably more than most guys, and I think a lot of that's where I live.
Okay.
Slowly getting into the glides and like the depths and stuff like that. And I'll tell you, I'm not an expert with them, but I've got to fish with like Matt Robertson and Matt Allen. I got to fish with him a couple years ago. We didn't even throw swim bait that much, but just talking to him and learning. And dude, I'm a tactical bassin fan just like everybody else, man. I watched your video this morning, and but man, believe it or not, my favorite is I'm a crankbait guy. I love a big deep diving crankbait, but there's only about 3 I throw. But man, them square bills, them bosses, and flat sides is my jam. I love a flat side, and a lot of people think you just throw it in the spring and the fall, in which those are typically the best.
Yeah.
But I've done really well on a small flat side crankbait in late summer, getting back in the creeks and stuff like that, where most guys aren't going to throw them, or they're going to get away. They think you got to be on ledges all year.
Throw a swim jig or chatterbait. You're going to throw it. Okay.
Yeah, get back in that cooler water and throw them flat sides and chatterbait swim jig and catch a lot of fish. And there's something about the balsa handmade stuff, like Norm Coulter's really famous, makes an amazing crankbait. Very blessed to have some of his stuff. And Jimmy Eater, in Ohio makes an amazing little flat side crankbait, and Black Label Balsa and PH Customs. But there's something about catching a fish on what was just a blank of wood, and the guys, whether he's machined it or handmade it and put the bill in and test tuned it, and yeah, that's what I like. And those wood baits, every one of them's different. You might get one that hunts a little harder left, and the next one doesn't hunt much, but it has a real slow rise to it, and it's a very intricate thing. I really respect that. And the same's kind of with the swim bait guys, man. These guys are making them out of the garage. I mean, some are making them in their spare bedrooms. Who knows? And I respect the detail these guys are doing. You know, Mike Buca is one of my best friends on the planet in the tackle industry, and that guy's literally starting his garage and still in his garage, just a lot bigger one, and makes one of the best all around swim baits in the world.
Yeah, no doubt. So the flat sides, that what you'd want to call those smaller crankbaits, the finesse cranking, I guess you could say. It's something that's very new to me, and
right.
It's something so like kind of like what you mentioned, where guys aren't really going to throw these crankbaits. That's something that I'm super interested in because it's something I've never really gone down. When I throw flat sides, it's when the water's really cold up here in the north. It's something where I could definitely see, there's a guy going down a deep weed line and he's throwing a chatterbait or a spinnerbait or whatever that might be. He might be flipping, but you could throw this smaller crankbait and get bites that he's not getting, or get fish to react that aren't reacting to him because they're seeing that chatterbait, 30 times a day, but they're not seeing that smaller crankbait. And that's something that I'm super interested in and start trying to implement.
We know Ott Defoe's kind of really brought that back. He's took that custom Rapala. It was a DT flat and modded the bill for it. And now that bait's going to be available to the public, the slim. And so Ott basically won the classic, throwing a flat side crankbait. And it's kind of actually more of a power finesse approach because some of these flat sides, they're not, the ones I'm throwing aren't little tiny guys. They're, the same size as, a DT6 or whatnot, just a different bill or whatnot and thinner. And then I've got some giant flat sides made by Craig Powers, who's a former FLW fisherman, one of the best topwater fishermen that's ever lived. But he makes these giant handmade flat sides. And I'm actually, will they be able to see this video, Bailey?
It might be. I could see your tackle boxes up there.
Okay, well, I'm going to pull one out. If you can see my tackle box. This is called the Big Humble. And this is the biggest flat side you will see. And it's made for burning and banging into big stumps and big wood and stuff like that. And believe it or not, this is a flat side crankbait.
Yeah.
I mean, but you throw this with 17, 20-pound line and put some big hooks on it, and you're not trying to get a lot of bites. You're trying to get a reaction bite from a really, really big fish. I mean,
interesting colorway too.
Yeah, I'm a purple guy. Everybody knows my deal. I love purple chartreuse. Got a lot of big smallmouth on that color, a lot of big largemouth. But I mean, this thing is as big as a KVD 8.0. Yeah. But if you look at it head on,
a lot thinner. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's just however you want to go with it. You can fish a flat side crankbait really finessey with real light line, 8-pound test, and what I call like walk it through rocks and stuff like that. Or you can bump up to 12, 14-pound test and throw a 7-to-1 reel, which I like. This is how I like to fish it, and burn it on the bottom, stop it, and I actually like to give it a little twitch, like when you feel that bait start float up, just a little twitch. A lot of times those bass can't stand it.
That's interesting.
But traditionally, in the colder water on a flat side crankbait, I like it to rise less. Like I want it to stop and barely rise, almost like a suspending jerkbait.
Yep.
When it's warm, I want it to, dart left and right. When I stop it, float up real radically. Bass are like us. When it's hot, we can, and warm, we can be a lot more active and we can react faster. When it's cold, we don't want to get up off the couch. Hey, somebody go grab me a drink. I want to sit there, and I'm going to be slow to react. So you sit it in front of my face long enough, eventually I'm going to grab it. That's always been my theory. I'm not a pro fisherman. I'm not even a good fisherman. I just know a lot about the baits, and I know what I've done to catch a few fish. So
Yeah.
that's one thing you'll never see me say is I'm a great angler, amazing. I could fish, at whatever level. Dude, I'm just an average Joe guy. I love doing photos and videos, and I want to help people catch fish because I had a lot of people in my life help me and show me things, and I'm all about just kind of giving it back to everybody.
Heck yeah. Yeah, experience goes a long way. And I think that plays a big part into your ability to catch fish when certain people can't. And I think, there's a lot of, thrown around, hammer or pro angler and all this stuff. But I think when it comes down to it, it's experience and then who can catch on and take the info in
Absolutely
faster than somebody else can. But it's, you brought it up about, warm water and these fish being able to chase it, being more active. That's always been a weird debate or conflict that I have in my own head, because for me, growing up, it was, keep that bait in the strike zone as long as you can. But then also it's like Rick Klungo, speed kills.
Yep.
So it's like trying to find, which one works. But I also think it's one thing I've come to learn. It's you don't need to keep it in the strike zone for very long as you keep casting at that strike zone and learn how that speed can work to your advantage. And it's obviously that changes with the scenario and different variables, but it's kind of cool to play around with that and try to figure out what works in different angles and scenarios and structures. And it's an interesting debate for sure.
Again, I'm not an expert. I know it's worked for me, and that's the cool thing about fishing. You can get out there and experiment. And as you get more experience and you deal with different type of conditions, you learn to adapt. And man, one thing I didn't do when I first started out fishing, and now we have all this technology that makes it easy, like angler, is have a log. I didn't log a lot of stuff. I tried going off memories. Once I got about 22, 23 years old, I had my own. I had a brand new 21-foot Skeeter bass boat, the best electronics at the time, which was like a Lowrance X15, which people laugh at now. But dude, I spent a lot of time idling, and I learned to know what balls of bait looked like. And when the bait looked at a certain way, that bass would be around. And I knew what a rough bottom looked like. I could graph really good with that boat, and I could pull up to ledges and catch fish immediately if it looked a certain way. But you get a lot's trial and error. And you'll have one guy tell you, like you said, well, you got to burn a 10XD. Matt Allen and Tim Little, they preach throwing 8XD, 6XDs, 10s on 7.5, 8-to-1s and just burning. I've never had much luck doing that. There are guys here that do it. I'm more of a make as long as cast as I can and get a 5.5 or even a 6 and reel it really fast on those reels. But I like to crash it into the bottom and jerk it like a jerk bait. I probably shouldn't say that on camera. My fishing partner might kill me, but we actually rip it 2 or 3 times and let it float back. Yeah, try that one day. But it's and it's always hard to catch another man's fish too. You know what I mean?
I know.
Guys that say, "Oh, you can go to this waypoint, and if you hop a football jig this way, you'll catch this and this." And I've tried it, and I'm like, okay, they're not biting that, but man, I can get them to kill a worm that I'm barely moving. So I think that's what brings a lot of people back though, and that's kind of how I fish now. I'm into all the baits. Like I got this big tackle warehouse order. I just want to go out and catch a fish on every bait. I'm not worried about fishing a tournament or whatnot. I just want to say, man, that JDM buzz bait, man, I caught 2 4-pounders on it. And then I'll go set it over here on the corner and say, that works. Let's see what other buzz baits are going to work.
Yeah. What do you think about the new Mega Bass buzz bait they just released?
Well, so I got one right here.
Of course.
Yeah. I think it's called the Jamaica Boa. I don't know. I can't pronounce their names but it is a very large profile buzzbait. I mean, if you look at that, that's big.
The head style is what intrigued me the most.
But yeah, it's got a big blade on it. It's got a good knocker to it and whatnot. It's cool. I like it.
Yeah, that's one bait And I explained to James Watson when he came on that I have probably the least experience in throwing as a buzzbait. And it's not. What's that?
I've got an emergency phone call. Can I answer that?
Yeah, no, but go for it. Yeah, please.
Okay. Sorry.
No, you're fine. No worries.
It's fine. All right, sorry about that. That's the mechanic. My wife's car broke down yesterday, and they just told me how much dinero I got to fork out to fix. So thankful for overtime. So
yeah. Well, I hope all is well.
Yeah, I hope that didn't cause anything on editing the podcast together or anything. But
that's okay. I mean, that was maybe 30 seconds.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So we were talking about Jamaica Boa, the buzzbait.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, it's built really well. I mean, I paid $20 for a buzzbait. Those old Boogerman buzzbaits, guys are spending like $50 a piece for it one time. Now, I just seen them back on Tackle Warehouse. So maybe I'm not the crazy one.
Yeah, I don't know. Well, it was in a recent podcast. Actually, it was Monday with Garrett Paquette. And we were talking about how people would laugh at, when the A-rig, the umbrella rig first came out, how people would laugh at you.
Oh, yeah.
The original designers, and now it's a bait ban because it just gets bit absolutely everywhere.
Yeah. So the first year that thing come out, it got Gunnersville. It blew up. Mm-hmm. It blew up at Gunnersville. People weren't catching jack. Paul Elias pulls out this 5-wire rig and smacks like almost 100 pounds or whatever it was. It was just ridiculous. People were like, what in the world? And then the EverStart Championship was on Kentucky Lake 2 weeks later. People were standing in line to pay $40 to $50 for an A-rig. Guy selling them out of the back of his truck. People were starting making them out of the garages. You can name your price. There's 50,000 different brands, it seemed. And Dan Moorhead wins the deal on a spook and an A-rig on Kentucky Lake. And it's just, dude, that year, it was so fun to fish in the winter. It didn't matter how cold it was. You could go out with an A-rig and put some, Reaction Innovation skinny dippers. Another big one was the net bait BK swim bait.
Yes.
You can catch 20 to 25 pounds on that A-rig.
Yeah. Not many people have ever talked about the net bait swim bait, and I have enjoyed it up here by myself.
Dude, it freaking smashes. If you can find them still, they're hard to find.
Yeah. I used to, so I did like the whole pro staff deal with them a few years back for a season. And that's back when Kevin Sword was, I believe he was the owner. He recently sold it off, I believe, last year, 2 years prior, something like that.
Justin still owns NetBait.
Does he?
Yeah, Justin
Sword, not Kevin Sword.
NetBait, but he is in a partnership with American Bait Works. So,
okay.
Same owner. Just got some new investors and they've kind of done what the Strike King Lose deal is. They put a bunch of different small brands under one big roof. It's going to be a good deal.
That's good.
I've always liked net bait, man. It's,
Pack
a crawl, man. How many fish have been caught on a pack a crawl?
a ridiculous amount.
Yeah.
I have enjoyed their swim baits though. I've been using those for years. It's just, I don't know what it is. I think it's just a boot tail. I don't know. What
Yes,
in your
it's nothing fancy, but it runs straight, and on a rig, it's great. And the Alabama rig changed bass fishing because it was a gateway for swim bait fishing. These guys would go ahead with the A rig, and they would feel those bass smash an A rig, and they're throwing swim baits. And then all of a sudden they go, well, maybe I ought to try the Bass Tricks or a Scottsboro tackle swim bait. Then they get bit on that, and it's like, okay, now do I go fish an osprey or a trash fish and catch one on that? And then it's, oh my gosh, I just bought a Roman made negotiator for $200. But that's how it works.
Yep. Yeah. Those things I've heard they are ridiculously priced, and there's a reason why I haven't even looked into them, because I don't even want to get the slight inkling that I want to buy one and pay that amount of money. I look at that and I'm like, do you know how much other tackle I can buy?
Yeah.
It's unbelievable how much.
And the glide baits and the regular swim bait, it's a totally different deal. And it's like the difference between a football jig and a flipping jig, really. The jig's a jig, but I don't flip a football into a buck brush. Use a totally different, rod reel setup and everything. So there's a lot to learn. And the bladed jig craze has been amazing. It kind of died down, and then when the jackhammer got here, it got crazy again.
Especially this spring with the red craw color that went nuts.
Yeah, when I seen those on Tackle Warehouse before it ever went nuts, I said, man, those are going to catch on fire. Some pro is going to be throwing that. And Lord knows when Jordan Lee started throwing it and the guys at Guntersville, I got one, and it's not chewed up. Actually, you the green pumpkin red one. That was my jam. I liked it quite a bit.
Yeah. It's funny to see these baits that are around for a while and people don't give them credit, and they see it get smashed on TV, and then next thing you know, everyone's crazing over it, and then they're on eBay for $200 a pop.
Yeah,
it's a funny little trend that goes on with the industry, but I don't know. It's kind of cool. I mean, it's interesting to see, the guys that go out there and they won't listen to the craze. They'll kind of look at these things, put their own spin on it, like yourself. And then there's guys, who just kind of follow the trend, that only buy the stuff that are popular at the time. It's kind of interesting behavior you see.
I definitely like to try to get on that train sometimes. I want to see what the hype's about. And sometimes the hype is like the jackhammer deal, just the whole. I held off on buying some myself, but when I had good friends who were like, dude, you will put all the other bladed jigs away. I was like, all right. I mean, the first day I threw it, I caught a great big one. I said, okay. And that's, what brings a lot of people back is when you buy something, whether it's a swim bait, a bladed jig, or crankbait, or whatever, and in the first day after you do good on it, you're a believer. Like, once I caught them on that jackhammer, that first day I said, dude, I'll buy if I could afford it, I'd buy 100 of them. So I bought 2 the next day.
Yeah, no doubt.
Is it the best bladed jig out there? That's up for debate. I hate to use the best for anything because it always seems there's something else out there you don't know about or you've not experimented with.
True.
To be better. For me, like people say, "Oh, Baitman, what's the best worm out there?" Well, the best worm to me is totally different from what might be the best for you. Now, sometimes there's some stuff out there. I mean, let's face it. You see it on the shelf and you look at it and say, "That is not for me. That is just not happening."
Yeah, I totally know what you're saying. But yeah, I'm actually really curious. I don't know if you've seen it, but the willow blade chatterbait that Z-Man's coming out with, that's not released yet. It's like a vertical willow blade that I'm actually really interested to try to get my hands on.
Yeah, it's kind of almost like a scrounger, a free motion scrounger. So instead of the polyurethane or whatever scrounger is, I've heard it's the same material that's on like a shower curtain, like that goes around the rings. But it's in that blade part. It's very interesting.
Yeah.
Very interesting. See, I like stuff. I like innovative stuff. That's why I like stuff in JDM tackle. A lot of stuff Sixth Sense has been doing. It's pretty innovative. And other companies as well. I can always see Chartreuse and White double wheel spinnerbait so many times. You know?
Yeah, no doubt. Have you ever looked into? I'm gonna put a little shameless plug in here, but have you looked into the Queen Tackle switchblades?
No, but they make a jig. Correct me if I'm wrong. It's got a rattle inside the head.
A hammerhead. Yep.
Yeah, the hammerhead jig, and I've heard really good things about that jig.
A
Matter
lot
of fact, the local boat dealer here has a bunch of Queen tackle. So I'll shout out to ACS Marine in Paris, Tennessee. They have Queen tackle.
There you go. That's sweet. But yeah, the switchblade they sell is just the blade of a chatterbait that you can put on any jig head you want. So you can customize it to the way that you want to do it. But it's something that I think I brought it up because it's kind of right up your alley, where it won't work with certain jig heads that are paired with certain trailers. So it's a piece of terminal tackle that is for the tinkering man, which I think is right up your alley. That I think you would enjoy playing with.
Yeah, I like to tinker. A lot of people ask, do I pour baits and stuff? I don't do that, and I don't paint baits because I'm artistically challenged. But you give me Photoshop, man, I can do some damage in Photoshop. But you give me an airbrush, I'll paint my face before I get it on the bait.
That's funny. Well, dude, talking about your TV show, I know you your YouTube channel because I personally learned a lot about different baits and such through your YouTube channel. And unfortunately, you've made me spend some good amount of dollars at Tackle Warehouse because of your YouTube channel.
Well, that's never like, I'm not affiliated with Tackle Warehouse or anywhere.
Yeah.
But I have a problem, and I like to buy stuff and show it out. And but I want to educate guys other than I don't want to just shove you and say, hey, you got to buy this new 6 cents bait to change your life. I want to show you about it and why it's unique and why it's different, how to rig it. But besides my YouTube channel, and I'm going to shamelessly plug myself. I never do this. If you decide you want to subscribe, I'd appreciate it. If not, no big deal. You still can come join me live. I do stream about every Saturday night. But I work with Mark Menendez on his local TV show called Bass TV. This is the first year I've done it with him. He's had it for a couple of years. And his other camera guy who's just moved on, different projects, no big deal. And Mark's like, hey, I know you did a great job working with Mike Otten and Classic Patterns. You want to do this? And I said, sure. And then I didn't realize COVID was going to hit and Mark was going to hurt his back, and it was hard getting everything filmed. But we're going to plan on uploading a lot of that stuff on Mark's YouTube channel later this fall after some of the episodes run. But I've had a blast, man. I learned so much with Mark, and I've known him since I've been like 6 years old. He would come to my house. Him and my dad went fishing, and he always treated me like one of his own, and caught my first smallmouth with him. So to be back in a boat with him, and Mark's a bait guru, man. He knows all kinds of stuff, especially the JDM stuff. Like, he's the one telling me, hey, man, you need to get some OSP. You need to try these depths top waters he never talks about. And there's guys on tour that are throwing this and that. And I've learned a lot, man. As far as striking baits, dude, he knows the whole catalog. He's crazy. He knows the color numbers. Instead of him calling that, that's sexy shad, he'll say, oh, that's 513 or 5. I think it's HC 590 or whatnot. And I'm like, man, you gotta quit doing that to me.
I don't understand what you're saying. Just say the color name.
Yeah.
That's funny.
But
so where do you see that going? Like, where do you want to take that?
Well, it's all Mark's deal. I'm just the editor and the camera guy, and I'm up for whatever Mark wants to do with it. Makes a little bit of money locally with advertising and whatnot and his sponsors, and has fun, but Mark just wants to teach people how to catch bass, catch more, and share his knowledge of bass fishing. And I'm just there to soak it up, and he'll say, hey, you need to talk about this on your show and stuff like that. And we just have fun. But I'd love to do YouTube full time. I'm turning 35 in November, and I'm not sure if I'm at the point where I'm too old or what. But I look and man, I just found this guy Gene the Fishing Machine or something like that, or I don't know. He's like 45, 50. Fluke is almost 50, and they're doing it for a living. And the tactical bassing guys are the same age as me, maybe just a smidge older. I think younger actually. And I think if you bring the information and provide some entertainment, you can go where you want to go.
Yeah, no doubt.
It's just hard too. I'm not making excuses, but man, when you got house payments and kids and all that, bravo to you to jump away from your full-time job and go at it for a living. And I'd love to make the jump. And yes, you can call me a pansy that I haven't, but man, I got a lot on my plate, and I love my kids. So if you ever watch my stream, my son gets on Baitman Jr. Now my daughter, she's like, man, I open a box of baits and she's like on cloud 9. Like, I just got these 6 cent worms in and I already opened them up because I want to go show them to her when she wakes up. She'll be off the walls.
There you go.
That means a lot to me that my kids, they'll watch me when I'm streaming and whatnot. That means the world to me, that they're kind of into it.
Yeah.
I could care less if they ever want to go fishing, but the fact they want to hang out with dad, that's cool to me.
Yeah, you already got this passion for it, and just now the added, factor of your kids are becoming passionate about it just kind of grows it for you and makes it even more special.
Yeah, other than my son, like, Dad, why don't you have 2 million subscribers like FGTV or Chat Wild Play? All these other YouTubers the kids watch, they're like, why don't you have 10 million subs, Dad? And I'm like, well, they're like cooler than me.
That's funny.
I'm actually probably going to start a YouTube channel for Baitman Jr. He really wants one. And I said, if you're going to do it, we're just not going to play with toys. I want you to educate kids. Let's show them how to count colors and stuff like that. And he's like, yeah. So that's probably coming up in the first year. Baitman Jr. and I have his own channel.
Awesome.
But I'm going to somehow incorporate baits and education in there.
I like it. Yeah. We'll have to link his YouTube once you start that, and we'll get
yeah,
some...
It might be a while. I don't know if he'll be doing any podcasts, but
You're saying he can't come on here, the Serious Angler podcast, for an hour and talk and teach some people?
He might teach you how to play Call of Duty or Fortnite, but you're not going to get a whole lot of bait talk out of it.
That's too funny. Well, it's cool, dude. I mean, I hope things keep going well for you, so that you can achieve that goal of doing this for a living. I think.
Yeah, if I don't, no big deal. I feel really blessed to even you asked me to be on here, and I had a podcast or have one. I've kind of slacked on it, and I wanted you to come on there, and I'm going to reverse roles and ask you all the questions. But when people ask me to do stuff like this, I rarely turn it down because I'm just blessed to be able to do that. Got a great family, support system, got great friends, and I tell all my subscribers and people view, I appreciate each one of them because I do. It's tough to be different and stand out in a online world where there's so many accounts on Instagram that are posting photos of baits and descriptions, and many of them are very, very good. I follow several of them. There's also some that try a little hard, and I'm like, yeah, I want to tone that down, and I've got to tell myself, don't do that. Don't be picky. They still have the same passion for fishing as you do. And, but it's hard to stand out. So when people ask me to do stuff, I hardly ever turn it down. Cause I know when I was little, I won't mention his name. I just put it on Facebook, but, I got spurned by a pro twice, and I still hold a grudge, and I don't want to be that guy that someone says, Baitman, he won't even do my podcast with me. I'm all like, yeah, I don't care if you got 2 viewers or 200,000. I like to talk. No
doubt. It's pretty cool, and I'll add to that. But on the flip side, Josh Bertrand has been somebody who I've looked up to. Watching back when he was on the Elites and growing up watching him fish, I always kind of liked his style, but. He's probably one of the most genuine people I've met, because I think my YouTube channel was like 200 subs maybe, and my podcast just started. I reached out to him over social media saying, I just would love to talk to you and learn.
Right.
And he didn't ask, what your subscriber count was, how big it was, or anything. He said, "Heck yeah, man! Like, just let me know what time works for you, whatever, and I'll get on. We'll chat." And it was pretty cool to see. It's guys like that are like yourself that just like to talk fishing, don't matter the platform, love to teach, love to have that opportunity to talk fishing. So
I'll be honest. I think most pros, it's not that they can't or don't want to.
Time.
And dude, to get good, you got to be on the water. And if you're got good relationships with your sponsors, you're working for them constantly. But very seldom have I had a pro just leave me on red, or as the young ones say, they left me on red. But most of them jump into opportunity. But what's cool, I noticed, I scrolled your social media and all that before you ever asked me, but I like how you don't have the same, everybody's got to be a pro. You got all kinds of a different variety of people, and people relate to that. Honestly, pro fishing is a very small part of the bass fishing industry.
Oh, yeah.
That's why the Guggen squad, with all due respect to them, is as huge as they are, because they're not worried about, no offense, wearing a jersey and promoting products. They do, but now that they're established, all they wanted to do was film cool pond fishing stuff that most middle school, high school kids can go do any day of the week.
Yep, they have reached, and it's been mentioned many times in the podcast, they have reached a niche that these pro tournament anglers cannot reach to its fullest. I think that's probably one of the best way to put it. They're showing, the Google Spot's showing how easy and accessible fishing can be and make it as fun as possible. You don't need an $80,000 boat to catch big fish and have a good time.
And that's also why kayak fishing is getting huge now.
Yep. No doubt.
I'm going to try to invest in one this winter. I'm going to find me used or something. Man, you do a great job of your podcast. I hope you got a good partnership with the company that's going to give you a ride to pimp out. But there's a lot of companies working with YouTubers now, and I don't mean got to be huge. I mean low, less than 1,000 sub or 5,000 sub counts, because people see real.
Yep.
And unfortunately, there's pros out there that people see, they say, "Oh man, they're faking it." And whether that's true or not, I don't know. But there is a census of people that this pro, all he's going to shove is XYZ down your throat, and then he's going to tell you to buy, ABC here. And I'm just tired of all these pros telling me what to do, what to buy. I want to go see, random Ben Milliken or this guy, or who's a good one, Fluke Master, Matt and Tim. I want to watch them fish. They're unbiased. They're going to tell me if that crankbait's worth the crap or not. And people like it. And I think a lot of YouTubers are soft selling. I promote 6 Cents all the time. I believe in their baits, but I've been throwing their baits for a long time. Like when they first started out, and I got them into some retailers. I was selling them in tackle shops locally here. They're like, "Man, I wish they'd make more stuff," and they got more coming out. And so I've always had a good relationship with them. I've got good relationship with Strike King as well, and NetBait. Those companies have always been great to me, but their products work. And Missile Baits is another great example of stuff that works. And I've turned down a lot of people who want me to take Instagram photos or talk about them on a live stream, and just tell people how good our baits are. I'm like, man, I've never thrown it. How am I going to tell someone it's good if I've never thrown it?
Yeah, no doubt. It's cool to see that, and especially when you keep your options open. One thing I don't intend on doing, at least for a long time, is even trying to pursue a partnership with a hard bait or soft bait, because that's something that when it comes to like a rod or reel, where it's a lot easier to be quote unquote tied down to only using that certain selection, because it's not like there's a massive line there. I mean, you can find a product within that company that rod wise with Douglas, right? You can find a rod that works very well, performs very well for different selections. You find that it's easy to go, let's say, all Douglas, right? You can only use all their rods. But when it comes to baits, I mean, there's something that a certain company makes that this company can't make because of a patent, but it works so well. And you don't want to get yourself in that situation where, you shouldn't be using it. You're not allowed to use it, quote unquote. So it's one thing, at least for me, I like to keep that open so I can use whatever I want, be free of that. But it's cool to have that relationship with multiple companies where it's on a basis where you're going to use what you want. And especially in your case where you can make these videos on a bunch of different things, teaching people, and endless amounts of information on the baits. So I think that's pretty awesome.
Right. I will tell you, in my advice for anybody on social media or YouTube, if you're wanting to get into it, I think it's awesome. Be creative, be authentic. And what I mean by that is, that's part of my relationship with Sixth Sense and what Casey said. The thing I want you to do is I don't want you to be a tackle hoe for Sixth Sense. I want you to still be Baitman authentic. If a guy asks you what's your favorite deep diving crankbait, I don't want you to just think you have to say, oh, a Sixth Sense. He said, you tell him the juice. You say, yeah, man, I throw a 6XD. I've won more money on a DT16 than any of them combined. And here's some other options. And oh, by the way, the Cloud 1520, I like it pretty well. Here's some good colors in it. And that's a true statement right there. That's not I'm trying to put a sales pitch. I mean, if you saw my deep cranking box, everything I just mentioned sitting in there. So I think being authentic is a big factor. You look at the guy, Realistic Fishing. He's in Nashville. He goes fishing off the bank every day, and he posts whether he catches a tiny shad or a 5-pound bass. He doesn't have crazy editing skills or nothing, but he's got a huge following because everybody can relate to that.
Yep, no doubt. I love it, dude. Well, dude, I have one more question for you before we sign off here. We're almost coming up on an hour. Appreciate
I got to get to bed.
Well, I don't want to have you lose some sleep. I know you got to grind to get back to, but my last question for you, and I like to ask everybody to kind of cap it off, is if you could sit down, have a steak and a beer with any 3 people in the world. Doesn't have to be fishing industry, and they don't have to be present. They could be pastime. Who would you sit down with, have a steak and a beer, and pick their brain?
This may come as a shock, but I really don't drink, so I would have a Mountain Dew.
Mountain Dew, okay.
I'm a huge Tennessee football fan. Like, I have a problem, and it's been a while since we've been good. So I would probably like to sit down. I know a lot of people are going to say Peyton Manning, but he was not my favorite all-time player. My favorite all-time player is actually Jawan Jennings, who caught the Hail Mary against Georgia. Now he's a 49er. Well, he got cut off the roster. He's on the practice squad. I think he would be a cool dude. Did you say 3 or just one person?
3. Sorry. 3? Yep.
I actually really like Casey Neistat. I like his thought process, the YouTube guy. You need to look him up. He's out in New York, but I love how creative he is with editing, his style. That's just a guy I would like to float stuff off of. And you know what? Last person would be my dad. I almost lost my dad 11 years ago to a stroke. He had a stroke during the Bassmaster Elite Series event here on Kentucky Lake. It's a crazy true story. Went to Nashville. They said he had a brain aneurysm during the surgery, so double whammy. Right before he had this surgery, though, he said Kevin Van Dam's going to win. It's okay. I'll tell KVD. So 2 days later, I see Mark Zona and Tommy Sanders at a restaurant. I'm helping my mom, just getting her clothes back to Nashville, and they just call me, hey man, how's it going? And I was just like, life's pretty crazy. Here's what's happening. Mark Zona was like, wow, dude. And I'll tell him, I said, by the way, Van Dam's going to win. My dad said so. And he did. And so the next time I saw Zona, years later, like 3 or 4 years ago, we're talking. He said, dude, how's your dad? And I go, good. He goes, I remember our conversation at the restaurant. He's like, I'm so freaked out right now. So, but yeah, I would love to just, you only get one dad. Sometimes you get a bonus dad, which is cool too. He's pretty much the guy that's made me who I am. And I hope when my son grows up to my age, he said, I just want to hang out with dad. So
That's awesome, man. I love that. That's a great 3. It's always cool to hear the sentimental stories, which is another reason why I like to ask that question. So that's cool. I appreciate you sharing.
I'm
that.
off the wall guy. My first 2 people are probably gonna be like, Juwan Jennings, this guy wants to hang out with a Tennessee ball, and who's this guy on YouTube? But I think we all would want to spend a little extra time with family when it gets down to it. So
Heck yeah, man. Heck yeah. I completely agree with that. So I appreciate you sharing, and I appreciate you taking the time out of your day. Hope I didn't take too much sleep time away from you, but I appreciate it nonetheless, man.
No problem.
Heck yeah. So I appreciate it, and we'll talk soon, and we'll keep in touch, man.
All right. Thank you so much, Bailey.
Of course. Take care. All right, guys. Hope you guys enjoyed that podcast there with Kevin. We talked about a lot of different things bait-wise. Talked a little bit about when it comes to selection of baits, different topics in the industry, purchasing behaviors, different things along the lines of that. So it's pretty awesome to get him on there. If you've not checked out the Baitman TV, head down below in the links below and go subscribe to his YouTube channel and check out some of the stuff he has. Do be prepared. There is a caution. You will want to spend some money. So I do caution you because, at least for me, whenever I watch one of his videos, I do kind of think, I might need a couple more of those. But go down, check it out. Check out some of his videos. You can definitely learn a thing or two. I do appreciate Kevin for coming on. Thank you guys again for watching and listening. We'll see you guys.